Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Vandana Saxena-Puria, and I'm the ICAEW advisor for India, and I will be your MC for today. ICAI and ICAEW have a long history of collaborating with each other and continue to do so. Following on from our successful joint research report on automation in finance functions, Lessons from India and the UK, we welcome you to a short series on making implementation easy for MSMEs and the lessons from experts. And let me now hand over to Mr. Manu Agrawal, who is the chairman of the DAAB, to give the welcome address.
Thank you, Vandana ji. Very good afternoon to everybody here in India, and a very good morning to all the guests joining in from the UK, and a warm welcome to people joining from other countries. I have with me the Honorable Vice President of the Institute, Devashish Mitra ji. I have my Vice Chairman, Dayanivas Sharma ji, and from ICAEW, Kirsten is there, and we have the learned faculty, Dinanath Kolkar ji. Very good afternoon and good morning to all of you also. Well, friends, as Vandana was telling you, this webcast, this basically program is in coordination with ICAEW, for which we have a special relationship and have done a joint study and keep on holding these webinars. In this process, the webinars currently are more focused on the digital initiatives which both the institutes are taking and have successfully been doing. Today's webcast is on automation in finance function. Now, the importance of all this becomes all the more in the light of COVID. COVID has basically changed the whole scenario. It has changed the way everybody functions. It has changed the approach of each and every person. Going to the office has become things of the past. Now it's work from home. It's work from wherever you are actually, not necessarily your home. So in this scenario, how is the industry coping up? What are the new measures which are being taken place? For this, we have two expert faculties today. Friends, I would also venture on to say that World Economic Forum survey reports have shown time and again that the role of an accountant would be on the diminishing side and would slowly but surely go away. Now, what would the accountant do? If that role is taken over by machines, if the process is automated, artificial intelligence crops up, what to do? Well, it's not that accountants will vanish. It is just simply that their role will change. What they do today may not be what they will be doing tomorrow. Today, they may be doing the entries, they may be doing the corrections. Tomorrow, that process may be automated. But to study that, to come up with results, to use the data analytics done by the machine is always going to be a part of a human. So with this, I wish all of you have a very nice time, have the vast experience of the two speakers, which we have. One we have from TCS and one from Swiggy, both very big players in the Indian market. And I hope that they will tell us, they will teach us, they will guide us what this corporate world is doing and what is the way forward. With this, once again, I welcome all of you to this webinar. Thanks, and back to you.
Thank you, Manu Agrawal ji. Great words of wisdom. The accountant's role is changing, will continue to change, and we need to be ready. And that's one of the things that both institutes are working very, very hard at. I'm delighted now to welcome the Vice President of the Institute, Dr. Devashish Mitra, to give his opening remarks. Devashish ji, over to you.
Thank you very much, Vandana. Good afternoon from India, and good morning to so many of you who have joined overseas. You see, the president of the institute is absential. I'm sure he'll join at some point of time. Manu Agrawal, who is the chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Standards Board, Dayanivas Sharma, the vice chairman, and Kristen, you see, from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. A very special welcome to her, of course, Vandana, and Dinanath Kolkar from TCS and Rahul Bothra from Swiggy. You see, about both these companies, I would like to speak as I go ahead. Let me first of all tell you how much we are happy with the strong bond that we have with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. A few days back, or a few months back, I would think, we had a meeting in which the president of ICAI was present, and we had a long discussion on how we can, carry forward our relationship and how we can join hands and do well for the profession. Two areas on which we discussed extensively in the last meeting when the president of ICAI was also present were technology and sustainability reporting standards. Those two were the areas in which we discussed at length. And both these areas are emerging areas. Technology was always there, but the way it has emerged in recent times, it has been phenomenal. The other day, I was saying that this technological emergence is going to be a disruptor. The president at that time was listening to me and he was saying that, yes, Debashish, it's going to be a disruptor, the technology, but it is also going to be an enabler. And I would like to agree with him that, technology is going to disrupt and also going to enable. And at the Institute, we have this Digital Accounting and Assurance Standards Board, which I would like to think is one of its kind and which does a lot of research on this, the technological evolutions that is taking place. Now, about 3 to 4 years back, maybe words like blockchain, artificial intelligence, data analytics, those are not very, very strong and popular words, especially the first two, artificial intelligence and blockchain. At the Institute today, we are propagating these ideas, these words. We are trying to see and anticipate to what extent artificial intelligence and blockchain is going to affect the profession. And to what extent we have to ensure that the profession is ready to adapt to those changes, because adaptation to this changing world is going to be so very much important. So so we are really working hard on those areas. Manu Agarwal ji, Dayanivas Sharma ji, they are they have been the flag bearers in the Institute's initiatives in those areas, right? So, but at the same time, let me tell you, we take pride in having this digital learning hub. The hub that we have where so much of material on digital, on learning, on updating yourselves are there. And this hub over a period of time has made great acceptance and respect. So the Institute has been trying its best to see that technology is in the forefront of things. Manu Agarwal ji was telling us that with the COVID coming in last year, we had a different kind of challenge, because these kind of meetings that we have today, of course, many of our meetings, we have this CPE situation, continuing professional education. These were all physical. And once COVID struck, we had to adapt and change our ways and go digital. And today, I would like to think that the Institute of Chartered Accountants in India is one of the leaders in digital education. We are, I think Christian will be well aware that we are the second largest accounting body in the world, having a membership of more than 350,000, and student strength of around 800,000. So, unless we change, unless we digitize, unless we adopt the newest in technology, we shall certainly not live up to the expectations of our stakeholders. So that is what the Institute has been doing, looking at technology both as a disruptor and as an enabler, and trying our best to adapt to the changes. Regarding both these companies which are involved today, TCS and Swiggy, TCS has been involved with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for quite a long time. We have our self-service portal where all the membership and all the students can update their fees, their membership details, and this is totally digital and automated. And this is being done by TCS, right? And then as the digital learning hub that I was telling you about is also handled by TCS. So when TCS talks about MSME and what are the solutions for this, at the Institute, we have also developed a separate committee on MSME and startups. And the other day on the MSME International MSME Day, we had a huge program where more than 90 branches joined us to discuss what we should do for MSME and how the Institute should play a very leading role in that area. Last, when Rahul speaks about Swiggy, I think Swiggy has is here, there, everywhere. I think I'm sure, I don't know abroad, but in India, you see, with this pandemic there, I will take you away from the finance side. With the pandemic there, without Swiggy, many of us wouldn't have survived, right? Because see, so many of us, we have taken help of this company to ensure that the food is supplied in our house, you see, at times, and excellent food. So you see, I can see Rahul smiling on the screen. But you see, today I'm sure he's not going to talk about food, and we would all like to listen to him about how Swiggy is Swiggy adapting technology, using technology, and becoming successful. That is, you see, a very important template on which Rahul will speak. So once again, my hearty congratulations to the DAB, the Digital Accounting and Assurance Standards Board, for having organized this program. Manu Agarwal, Dayanibas Sharma, Chairman, Vice Chairman, to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, of England and Wales, Kristen and Vandana, thank you very much for having joined hands with the Institute. And to Rahul and Dinana, thank you very much for your kind presence. And we look forward to listening to you and enlightening ourselves. So I wish all of you the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debashishji. Technology, yes, disruptor or enabler. And I think today we're going to hear very clearly that it's up to us to disrupt our minds and enable our businesses. Now, we did a bit of disruption and enabling last year when we put the report together. So I'd now like to welcome Kirsten Gillen from the ICAEW in London to just do a quick recap on the main parts of the report before we go forward with our speakers. Thank you, Kirsten. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Vandana. Good morning to everyone. Good afternoon to all of those watching in India. Thank you to ICAI for organising this event this morning and for inviting me to say a few words at the beginning. It's a real honour to participate, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing the insights from Dina and from Rahul a bit later. As Vandana said, we launched the report, Automation and Finance Functions, Lessons from India and the UK, about a year ago. And of course, all the research was done pre-pandemic. So it feels at the moment like an absolute lifetime ago when we spoke to all these fantastic companies and we learned so much about what they were doing with automation. But I think it's fair to say that the key messages from the report still resonate very strongly, and I think it's still very relevant to our members. Firstly, a key message was just how essential tech, and particularly automation, are to the future of the profession and the future of finance. We often think of it as a threat, but actually it's a huge enabler, and I think that came out very strongly in the conversations, not just about the obvious benefits and efficiency and accuracy and things like that, but also around the ability of tech to free up time so that people can spend time on more valuable tasks, business partnering, strategy, things like that. And also the ability of tech and automation to provide data. That's what all organizations are looking for. When you've got data stuck in lots of different systems held together by spreadsheets, it's very difficult to give the business the data they want. So really a huge amount of this transformation, what was driving automation was being able to produce all of that data very quickly to help the business make the decisions. In the report, we highlighted some of the key success factors of leading organizations in this context. For example, particularly the need for finance to own and really drive the change. It shouldn't be something that's driven by IT, it should be owned and driven by finance, obviously in collaboration with the tech specialists. But often we saw it very much about focusing on small changes, not necessarily trying to do everything at once or a huge big bang. It's often small changes that can really make a big difference, and being really targeted and specific on what you're trying to achieve with the technology was a huge key success. And of course, we looked at the impact on people, the changing roles, changing skills, the need for more technology skills, and really the need for a different way of thinking and a different mindset, and the importance of curiosity, of learning, of always challenging, of always looking for better ways to do things. That kind of mindset came across as really, in many ways, more important than the skills, because after all, the skills and the technology will change in 5 or 10 years time. It will look very different. So the skills are always going to be changing. It's more about that adaptability and that mindset for change and for learning that is really critical. So if we reflect just in the pandemic, and I talk a bit about our experience in the UK, I think a few key points, just which I'm sure will be quite similar. One, obviously, just the pace of change has been mind-blowing in many ways, and we look at sort of ways we always thought, well, this kind of change would never happen, and then the pace has been been extraordinary. And I think we're now very much in that phase of thinking, well, what happens next? We've made all this change. How do we consolidate? How do we keep momentum? What do we go back to? What's good about this? What's bad about this? And I think we're very much in the phase of not really understanding how all this hybrid homework is going to work in the long term. There's all kinds of long-term implications about businesses and organizations and how it works. But I think we're very much in that phase of this has been fantastic. There's been huge benefits, but what do we do next and how do we build on what's happened? I think while we've talked a lot about automation and technology and digitalization, I would have to say the biggest thing we've talked about in the last year from a tech point of view is cybersecurity and threats to things like ransomware. I think we always as a profession have to be absolutely on top of those risks because it is a huge problem. And I think it's been a huge issue for our members, particularly smaller businesses become more reliant on the technology. Every aspect of their business has been using technology. The threats are just that much greater. So I think we always just need to be very focused on that, not get carried away by the benefits, but think about those risks and the cyber challenges in particular. And then finally, I think, again, this may seem very obvious and very intuitive, but I think it really has brought home to a lot of organizations the power of data. I think a lot of organizations maybe thought, well, it's not very relevant, it's not what I need to focus on, but I think we've seen the businesses that have done well, have had data about their supply chains, they've understood what their customers wanted, they've been able to see what their staff are doing. So the ability of data to help you manage the forecast better, to manage your operations, I think that power of data, so it may seem a bit obvious, but I think it's really come home for a lot of organizations that maybe before the pandemic hadn't necessarily seen that and hadn't seen the benefit of that. So again, I think it's really how do we build on that in the next stage. So that's just a bit of a recap from where we were a year ago with the report and a few reflections on what we've seen in the last year from our perspective in the UK. Thanks again to ICAI for organising this session. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing the comments of Dina and Rahul and the questions. So I'll hand back to you, Vandana.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. Great words. I think chartered accountants are often not, we don't have any famous serials after us, like the lawyers do and the police do, but actually we are quite curious and we are growing, and technology is one area where we really can't afford to take our foot off the pedal. So thanks for bringing that up, the essentiality of it, and also the fact that data really can open up. And I think that's one of the main things that we're going to hear from Rahul and Dina. So looking forward to getting into the discussions with them. So I'd like to now invite over our first speaker, Dinanath Kolkar, who's Vice President and Global Head of Analytics and Insights at TCS. He's responsible for managing the unit P&L, formulating strategy, and enabling clients in their journey of digital reimagination. And as a data and analytics specialist who's worked closely with many business stakeholders, he believes that many organizations are yet to realize the power of their data in real-time decision-making. So, Dina, I'm going to hand over to you. Really looking forward to your input, especially, and it's worth saying at this stage, thank you for your input into the report. It was invaluable too. So, Dina, over to you.
Thank you, Vandana, and thank you for having me on this special event that you guys have organized. Always a pleasure to connect with industry professionals and especially finance professionals. So when I looked at what I could share, I thought it would be good to give a perspective of how things are changing, what is the type of change each of you can potentially drive for yourself and your organization. And also, give a perspective from TCS, given that we have ourselves been, into a lot of finance automation and transforming our finance based on how our businesses have evolved. I will also cover a perspective on how we are helping our customers drive finance transformation. And that customer spectrum pretty much is a very wide one, right from some of the largest multinationals to the MSME segment in India. So that was the overall objective that I'm trying to achieve through the next 20 minutes. So let me start off with the point of evolution of finance role and how it has panned out for TCS itself. Our current CEO used to be the business finance head a decade back, took over the role of the CFO in 2013. And in 2017, when our former CEO, Chandra, went on to become the chairman of the Tata Group, Rajesh Gopinathan took over as the CEO of TCS. And you can see some of the accolades that he has been able to achieve in the last 4 years that he has been the CEO. TCS touched 100 billion in market cap, various awards as a CEO. He recently won the best, the IT Professional of the Year award from DataQuest. So the point to highlight over here, I have seen this as a very interesting trend in not just in TCS, but also in some of the other organizations where CFOs of the organizations have gone on to become the CEO, or other way around, as part of the succession planning, the leadership team takes a conscious decision to have the future CEO at least to play a role for a significant amount of time in managing the finance activities of the organization. So I thought I'll just give you that perspective to start off from a TCS perspective. If you look at the 4 CFOs that TCS have had, and I just wanted to bring this up because each of them had a different phase in which they saw TCS grow as an organization. So Maha was one of the longest serving CFOs, was there right from the time when TCS went public. We did quite a few acquisitions in that time frame. We expanded into new business areas. We set up the infrastructure business. We set up the BPO business. And one of the largest acquisitions that was done by an IT company, which was acquisition of the captive operations of Citibank. And I was the CEO of that company later on, for a few years. Maha played a very crucial role in helping us go through that entire transition. Plus, one of the biggest challenges he faced was the area of the global financial crisis, and the type of optimization that he did, the type of strategies that he came up for, the hedging strategy and things like that was quite phenomenal. Rajesh took on from Maha in 2013, and while he did phenomenally well in bringing in a lot of the business finance aspect of how the CFO should be a partner to all the business stakeholders, help them in various deal strategies, deal making, and things like that. But he also looked at it more from a point of view of where the things were going. And one of the pioneering work that was done in the industry around sustainability was led by Rajesh. He actually, transformed the entire energy management system within India. A CFO working along with the technology group, coming up with a completely transformative solution on energy management, piloting it with one of the campuses that we have, and then replicating it across various campuses across India, and then creating a roadmap to create green energy as a solution for many of our offices. Ramki took over in 2017 when Rajesh went on to become the CEO. And one of the things, Ramki is a core finance guy. He recently superannuated, but his ability to very clearly articulate the risks, the opportunities which were there for the businesses. So a true partner to the business, a true coach and a mentor, because of his vast experience of 35 plus years in the finance organization, has been quite phenomenal. And Samir has just completed 100 days as the CFO, and he just posted his experience on LinkedIn. I would encourage you to read up. And he is, we've seen him grow in the organization, working along with Rajesh and Ramki, and being the business finance head. Again, a great partner to many of us who have run businesses. So the point I'm highlighting again and again is the partnership that I have seen from each of these 4 CFOs that we have had in TCS. So given this, obviously it was without doubt that they would get recognized as some of the top CFOs, many awards which have come to them. But, finally it needs to translate into what is the secret sauce. What are we really doing? So as I mentioned, on the top line is the different stakeholders within TCS, be the COO or be the chief marketing officer, the chief risk officer, the CIO, the chief data officer or the digital officer, the chief security officer. All of these stakeholders, how are we enabling with a lot of the automation that we are doing? So one of the key things, given that we operate out of so many countries, getting our results done, closure of books and the results to the market within a week of the end of the quarter is a phenomenal journey that we have gone through. And one ERP system, various things that we do with data. And I have a very close association with the data office that drives the entire engine, the finance engine. And we've been working very closely with the finance team to come up with various things. And one of the things, the expertise that my team has is they know the art of the possible. What can you do with data? What can you do with different tools which are there? What analytics can you use? How you can upskill some of the people? What is the value that the finance organization can provide? It's a phenomenal partnership that we have built over the years, and that has resulted in us keeping us ahead of the curve, continuing to be the bellwether for the market, and so on and so forth. Let me take a step back and look at I thought it'll be good to give a perspective of what all we do for our customers. And I have run this business for about 7 years. I used to head the BPO business for TCS, worked very closely with many global customers, supported them on their finance operations, and seeded a lot of transformation in the finance operations. I thought I'll give a perspective so that you understand what is really happening out there and what type of opportunities each one of you as a professional potentially has to upskill yourself, to look at opportunities, or even shape up new opportunities for yourself. So just to give a quick snapshot, and this is something which is obviously many of you probably would have read. And I heard Manuji talk about automation. He talked about artificial intelligence and machines taking over a lot of the work and stuff like that. But I think it's important to appreciate the fact that these are all enablers. These are all assistants to people. Their capabilities cannot be undermined. It is to make you better, make you more effective. And that's where the whole paradigm of upskilling of people. So look at the redundant or the mundane set of tasks to be taken up by the machines, and you can then start focusing on some very interesting stuff that you can yourself do as a professional. There is a lot of process transformation that we have been doing. And the trend is very clear that when we take over some of these processes from various of our customers, the reason that they come to us is because we have been running these type of operations for many of our customers, and our ability to see the best in class, our ability to actually understand what is it that really can make a difference to that particular business, what is the value we can add, is very much appreciated by the customers. And the last point about technology, it's the era of digital. You have to think from a data perspective. You have to think from a digital perspective, and the default is digital. If you really look at the last year and a half, in the pandemic and possibly the post-pandemic era, digital will be like a fundamental right for every individual, and finance is no exception. And I feel that being aware of what are the technology levers, what are the type of things which are there. You may not necessarily be an expert in it, but you will have to have at least a knowledge about what it means, what are these technologies, how does it help a particular function, and things like that. So those are the type of trends that we are seeing. And when, as an organization, we drive finance transformation, there are three clear steps in the roadmap that we drive. And we have a business which is called the cognitive business operations, which covers the entire run part of any customer's business. First focus is on digital finance, looking at the overall data and process mining, understanding how you are running your processes, the workflows, what type of robotic automation can be brought in. Can you bring in chatbots to actually help you with certain enablers and things like that? Next step is around the intelligent finance, and I'll talk a little bit more into details around this particular area. But predominantly, what is advanced analytics? How is it playing a role in helping more towards making the finance professional a partner to business, the ability to actually be an advisor to the business and across different functions, and the type of things which are changing in the world of finance. And finally, the future-ready finance. What are the type of technology advances which are there? What are the things which are already in place? And I'll cover this with some examples of what we have done for our own customers. So I just picked up a few examples, and the type of examples which really one can be very proud of, that this is how we are helping the business of our customers. So one of the large multinational corporations, a technology company, predominantly struggling with cash flows. And we helping them in enabling improvements in the cash flow, giving recommendations based on the insights that we were generating, the understanding of the processes that we were seeing, the hurdles that were there, simplification of certain processes and stuff like that. So, I won't go into each of these examples and details, but very clearly, when we run finance operations, no longer do we say that, hey, we've automated this, or we've taken care of this, or we have done a book closure in a very seamless manner and stuff like that. You notice that a big shift which is happening is, what is the value we are adding to the business? How does business see us as a value proposition as against just a cost in the organization? And I think that is a big shift that I've seen over the last few years, especially with newer technologies coming in. And I think that is a very key element, that if you have to be value adding, you also need to look at who takes care of your regular set of activities, what is the technology that you'll bring in to assist you in various things that you do. Let me shift gears and talk about the TCS Ion solution. So this is software as a service product that we have, and very successful in the India market. It's been exactly 10 years that we launched this. And with the focus on the MSME segment, we started off with the specific segments within the larger MSME base. And it is pretty much an ERP for the small and medium businesses, but pretty much very seamless as regards its integration with various functions which are there. Pretty much takes care of all the functions which are needed by the finance organization. And a typical set of the modules, the finance and accounting modules, and especially for some of the organizations which want to quickly set up, a lot of these things pretty much are available. There is very low cost at the instance when you start off using this. It is all pay-per-use type of a model, and it provides you all the state of the art as regards a general ledger, your payable, and the automation that a typical organization would need to run their finance. And these reports which are there, created reports and things like that, are very much the order of the day, where people look at how can you actually be doing things, understanding the data well, and then being able to take certain decisions. So decision making obviously is the key, and how do we enable this through the platform like Ion. Let me go deeper into an area which is what I manage currently, and my teams do a phenomenal job of helping various customers in various aspects. Looking at making their finance, their accountants be more valuable in various aspects of what they are doing, and how is the role of data, advanced analytics, and AI playing a very crucial role in the finance function. And before I go into more details, I would like to tell you that data and data centricity, understanding data, is a very, very crucial aspect of any professional's life. Most of the things that you will do with digital has a very strong underpinning of data. And it is very important for any professional to understand what is the data that I require to run my business. And one of the things that I have been doing, apart from the services that I provide to the customers, we're also helping the government in defining the data strategy. We have the smart city program that is being launched about 110 cities. How do you ensure that the data officers in the smart cities are educated about data and its value and things like that? Same thing applies to you also. So when you look at data, the first thing everybody thinks of data is numbers. Is that all that is data is all about? Answer is no. There is a lot of data which is in form of semi-structured form. There is unstructured data, and there are different types of data sets which are there, which you can potentially use for decision making. Most of the time people think of data which is there within your organization. However, that's not the case. When you run businesses, businesses run in an ecosystem. Businesses run when you connect with multiple businesses. There is data related to your business, which is residing with your suppliers, with your channels and things like that. And you need to appreciate that that ecosystem data is a very crucial element on your entire landscape, and for professionals to appreciate that data quite well. At the same time, there is an emergence of a lot of data which is in the open data space. And this is something which is, I own the data, but I feel that this data could be potentially useful to somebody else. I will classify that as open data and make it available as part of the open data. And I heard the term around sustainability reporting. This will be a very crucial aspect when you look at reporting for sustainability. There is a lot of data which you will source from the open data spaces, and which is in the larger realms of the universal data, as we call it. So it's important for professionals like yourself to have a very good understanding of what is this data all about, and understanding the different types of data. There's also opportunities for you to actually sell data, or we call the term which is used as monetization of data. And commercialization of that data, and you can actually generate a revenue stream for your businesses. And those are some things which I'm sure Rahul will talk about later on in some of these new age companies, which are cloud native digital companies. One of the biggest strengths that they have is about data, and how they can actually monetize and commercialize that data plays a very crucial role. So, evolving role of a finance executive, I thought, let me just take a step back and look at, what are the different areas where a finance executive plays a role. In commercial finance, working with predominantly the sales organization, the operational finance in your entire manufacturing setup, you're running your day-to-day operations and things like that. Your supply chain, working with your vendors, your channels and things like that. And the traditional finance, which will be your bookkeeping, the smart closure of your books and stuff like that. So, you potentially can see that there is a great spectrum of activities which you can potentially do, and build up expertise that you could potentially take to your stakeholders in the organization. And I thought I'll just give you a sample of some of these, these are some of the things that my teams do for our customers. CFO dashboard has been one of the most popular solutions that we've been able to take, which has made the CFO's life much more easier, gives them a complete 360-degree view of what is happening in the organization. Advisory to the sales and marketing team. And I did give examples within TCS where our business finance teams are actually advising us on various things. So whenever there is a quarterly result announcement, subsequently I have discussions with my business finance teams on looking at, hey, what are the things that you see we can potentially improve on, any guidance around how we are doing vis-a-vis competition, what are the type of trends which are there in a particular market and stuff like that. And those are the type of things I would always look forward to in form of an advisory services. And obviously there are other areas like capital, working capital optimization related analytics, which needs to be done. And especially in the current context where you're finding it very difficult to run and sustain some of the businesses, some of these insights play a very crucial role. And of course, cash flow forecasting. And I did give an example from one of our customers. So some of these are examples, and the best way to actually, tell about what the insights are is by means of a data story or an insight story. And your ability to actually generate those insights, put it into form of dashboards. And there are some amazing tools which are available, which are used by many organizations. And while you might use a very basic Excel workbook, but there are various things which people are looking at from a self-service analytics point of view. There are opportunities which can potentially be used in a big way. The last thing I would like to call out is around compliance. And I know that the finance organization plays a very significant role related to compliance in the organization. And one of the things that I have been working with many of our customers is how does a lot of this work get done by AI? Because, it is a very, very repetitive set of tasks and it requires a lot of, effort which goes in. Can AI play a role in transforming this regulatory compliance? And we've actually built some very interesting solutions in different industries. We ourselves use it for doing a lot of compliance checks that we do in different functions which the finance organization supports. And I feel that many of the activities which are very repetitive tasks and tasks which potentially can be automated, AI can play a very significant role in this. And you need to understand what AI can do and what is the potential AI has in enabling this for you and as your organization. Let me conclude with, while I've said all of these things, what does it really mean for you? Is about how do you become future ready? How do you transform your mindset? How do you drive lifelong learning opportunities? And I thought I'll give you a few, pointers around some books. And the one which I loved is the 100-Year Life. And I'm, friends who are joining from UK. It's one of the UK authors who has written this. Said that the life expectancy is growing quite significantly, and you just can't learn till you are in your 20s, but you can learn again in your 40s, in your 60s, and your 80s to be able to live that long and be effective in the world. There was an interesting book that C.K. Prahlad wrote a few, I think about 15 years back or even earlier, Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, and specifically in the context of India and the scale at which we are operating and the opportunities which are there with digital. I feel this is an amazing thing, and I'm sure you will hear the Swiggy story and the impact that they've created. There is definitely an opportunity over there. Two very recent books which are there: Digital Nation, a book that was written by our chairman Chandra and our one of our Tata Group colleagues, our chief economist Rupa. Again, a very interesting book on the topics of education and healthcare, and how technology or how digital can play a role in a significant way to transform the nation itself. It's a very good perspective, and there is a lot of useful things for MSMEs in this, in a very direct way as to what are the things you could do. And finally, the book that Dr. Mashelkar and Ravi Pandit have written on leapfrogging to pole vaulting, and especially in the context of how you can not necessarily take incremental steps, but go in a very significant manner in what is called as pole vaulting, and using different digital technologies to go from where you are to the future. And thankfully, I heard Vice President talk about the TCS ION platform, the digital hub, and I happen to have that on my slides as well. And the reason I put this up is, we talked about upskilling, you talked about bringing up opportunities. The learning space has gone through a significant amount of transformation. You can learn from anywhere, you can learn from any platform, and you can actually gamify learning as well. And we have done it at scale. So just to give you a perspective, we are an organization of 500,000 people globally. And over the last 10 years or so, we have pretty much done a rehash of every individual in the organization going through upskilling, learning about new digital technologies and things like that. And primarily the base of it has been the TCS ION digital hub, which we use internally. And plus there is a very large digital learning ecosystem which is there. We're doing this session virtually, and there are many other opportunities which I'm sure you will be able to learn from. Many such examples which are talked about transformation, how finance is leading some of the growth and transformation of customers. There are amazing things which you can know from what other organizations are doing, and actually play a role in the entire transformation journey. And I remember our Prime Minister talk about the impact that CA community has made to the entire transformation that we have gone through as a nation. And I strongly believe that it is a great opportunity for you to learn new things and apply those into what you are doing to become much effective and much valued partners that business look forward to. So thank you again for giving me the opportunity. It was wonderful talking to you, and look forward to interacting as well.
Thank you so much, Dina. You covered so many topics. It was really nice to see the start of CFOs moving into the CEO positions as well. And that obviously means that you need to understand the wider business as well as the stakeholders. And clearly, data is the future. And I think towards the end, you talked about the ability to generate insights, to visualize the data, and to tell the data story. That's very much going to be the part of every chartered accountant's journey. And also to not try and do it all by yourself. The fact that there is a lot of open data available, which is crucial, in understanding and being able to benchmark, to be able to understand best-in-class practices, et cetera, So to not just think we need to develop this ourselves, to also look at what's available out there and how we compare to that too. So Dina, thank you for those insights. And we're looking forward to asking you some questions a bit later. Now I'd love to hand over to Rahul Bothra, who really needs no introduction. He's responsible for one of our favorite companies, as the vice chairman said. So it's fantastic to have you here, Rahul. So just as a very brief background, Rahul is a chartered accountant by qualification under ICAI, and he was previously divisional CFO and vice president, I think at Britannia, and has also worked at Colgate, Palmolive and Wipro. But I think today, rather than me talk about your illustrious past, I think we need to talk about the present. And Rahul, I'd love to hand over to you to hear more about the Swiggy story and your role as the CFO.
Sure. Thank you so much, Vandana. Dina just talked about a lot about transformation in finance, across that's happening globally in finance teams. I think I belong to an era currently where we did not have to go through a transformation, but go through a formation journey ourselves, because everything that we do today is digital and is centered around automation. Very quickly, I represent Swiggy. Swiggy, we operate at the intersection of technology and logistics. We think ourselves as more than just logistics provider or technology providers, as really convenience providers to urban consumers. And I'm really glad that a lot of us, who are in India, were able to use our services across the product, the suite of products and services that we had, and really became it easy to, around the pandemic time. So let me dive into the finance automation itself, and as a theme, what is this all about, and what is the application in modern day corporate finance. So very quickly, the finance automation is nothing but the application of machine learning and intelligence in areas such as analysis, invoice automation, collections, payroll, and preparing financial statements. So across the length and breadth of things that we do in the finance function, technology and intelligence has taken over, which has reduced the use of the human intervention. Today, a lot of manual tasks that we used to do, and I belong to an era where when I was starting off my career, computers were just beginning to come on board. We were all beginning to understand how to deal with technology, and today this is probably the only way we can work today. How does it help the business teams and finance teams? Again, obviously, elimination of manual errors and reducing the risk of fraud. The faster processing that happens because of availability of cloud technologies. Today you don't have to rely on native hardware, but things happen on the cloud in a jiffy, and this is something that we have been on the cloud from day one. Improve visibility to the audit trail and the automated operations. You do not have to worry specifically if there are any errors. You can easily find them through the automated reconciliation tools that are available. I think the volume of business that we currently handle, right, at Swiggy on an annual basis, we are already handling more than 500 million transactions, and in a couple of years, this number will move to more than 1 billion transactions in a year. Now, how do you handle such transactions without really using the modern day tools and technologies that are available within our functions? Very quickly, some adaptation of this automation in our own lives, whether it's on document automation, where we automate the generation of invoices, whether it is a consumer order or invoice to the partner for our commission payments. Everything is today handled through documents which has been automated. On the RPA side, when we talk of again digitizing the PDF invoices which are available in reportable formats, it can be downloaded and converted into other tools for partners to analyze their own data. We have started to use chatbots and conversational agents today. If a restaurant partner reaches out to us on finance, email support, what they are getting response is not from a human, but really a chatbot, which understands the requirement, the incoming requirement, and is able to take the respective report, analyze that query, and respond without a human intervention in place. Again, on machine learning, we have to, we rely a lot of it to train our systems to be able to understand the psyche, the behavior of the ecosystem players that are currently operating with us. And I will talk about a few examples in real life where we are using this technology. So the key emerging themes, Dina talked about the 2025. I think it's already here. Transactions are becoming touchless. There is, not a single, probably human being which is involved today through the transaction cycle. This gives us the ability to double down on business insights. The whole value, journey that we have had from being a controller to a value-added business partner is something that we are experiencing today because of the tools and technology that are in place for us. I think the skills required of the future finance professionals will be very different from the past. The traditional controlling skills are going to be given. The future ready digital skills is something that would be an ask. I don't think this means that all of us have to suddenly start learning how to run SQL queries on the system. But I think our mindset has to be around, how do we use the available technology without necessarily having to, run scripts or run, codes or write codes ourselves. Well, that's an added skill if you're able to learn that, but that's not a prerequisite for you to have a technology mindset. The traditional ERPs that we see of today are going to, go a change. Companies like us cannot rely on an off-the-shelf available ERP. We have to develop our own in-house systems because of, there is no such, tools available in the market, and therefore a lot of in-house production system has to, function within the company. We are moving towards a real-time finance closing. We heard about new age companies starting to, declare the results in 6 or 7 days. I think there will be a time in the future where we would be expected to, close our books and declare our results on the first of the, following day of the quarter. Now, how are we enabling our systems, our reporting cycles to be able to meet these requirements, which are fast going to come through? On the self-service side, I think the whole human middleware that existed, where always accounts and the finance teams were the custodians of data, and almost all the business functions would come to them as a single source of truth, as the custodian of the truth within the company. That's kind of getting now democratized. So almost everybody within the company have access to the insights and the data that they need, which has been converted into actionable insights and not just reports today. Again, if people are expecting that you don't require a human intervention, and and again, where the focus is going to shift is towards strategic analysis. As I mentioned, if data and insights are going to be thrown out by the system, where would your need come from, right? So I think artificial intelligence will do its job. It will give you insights, but then you will have to apply human intelligence on top of that artificial intelligence. So I don't think there will be job losses in the future. If any, there will be more people required, who have more human intelligence that can be applied on the machine output, so that we can drive actionable results within our company. So it is an essential theme for us, and no longer a good to have theme. Now, very quickly within Swiggy, if you kind of look at where does the transaction start and where does it end? So we are a three-way marketplace. A consumer places an order on our app, and there's a simultaneous relay to the restaurant partner who starts preparing the food, and a relay to the delivery partner who starts making the journey from wherever they are to the restaurant itself. And while the food is prepared, the restaurant partner arrives at the restaurant, picks up the food, and delivers to the customer. So all of this is happening in 30 minutes, right? So we are an on-demand 30-minute end-to-end three-way marketplace business. And if you kind of look at the speed at which all of this has to happen and the efficiency with which it has to happen, from a financial and accounting system point of view, we had to really go through our design thinking, apply the first design principles around where is this data coming from, what is the transaction that is starting off with this interface between each of these ecosystem players, and what are the financial systems and tools that we need to therefore deploy or build ourselves, because these are not available in the market. So whether you talk of the restaurant systems or the customer systems and the delivery partner systems, there's a lot of real-time data processing happening so that we are able to do without a touch of a human interface, able to make our payments to our delivery partners, make payments to our restaurant partners after doing all the reconciliations, all the deductions that are required to be done, which have been fed through the financial processes that we have set before the transactions even happen. Then there are obviously the other systems that have to start integrating and start talking to these built the homegrown build systems, whether it's the P2P systems, the treasury and the cash flow management systems. We also have visualization tools in the form of Power BI and some other tools which not only now help the data users to get access to real-time data, but also in a format that they visually understand it and are able to take their actions immediately. So ours is a very, I would say, real-time business. We do not have the luxury to wait for either a periodic period-end reporting or a weekly or a monthly reporting to take actions. If there is a certain problem that's happening, if, for example, our sales are down on a certain given day, there could be immediate actions that we can take on a real-time basis without having to wait for a period-end understanding of what really happened. So a lot of building that we had to do in-house. We actually have a dedicated finance engineering pod which is attached to the finance team. So these are engineers who report into the financial function and are making these products in-house so that we can cater to all these different needs of the organization, both from the transaction processing side and also the operations side. One of the my favorite examples is the cash management system, right? And this was, I think, this was 4 years ago. This was week 1 of my joining Swiggy, and one of the first approvals that came to my desk was to hire 150 cashiers. Right? We were at that time operating in only 6 cities. We were doing a few 100,000 orders a day. Less than 100,000 orders a day. And we were asked to recruit 150 cashiers because a lot of customers were paying in cash, and the overall cash float in the system was increasing, and it was becoming difficult to manage that. When I looked at that problem statement, I realized that if we are in 6 cities and we are having all this trouble of having to hire hundreds of cashiers for reconciliation, what would we do if we were in 100 cities? How would we then be able to recruit an army? So while we have an army of delivery partners, we would also need an army of cashiers. So we took this problem statement, head on. We said we will not hire these cashiers because that's a short-term, fix that we would like to avoid. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let us see that today we chase our delivery partners to make payments. How do we reverse the equation? How do we make them chase us to give the money and change the paradigm? Basically make a paradigm shift in our thinking. That change in that paradigm shift helped us to look at available technologies. Luckily for us at that time, UPI was just beginning to enter the market. We studied that. We were the first users of UPI technology by building a product, wherein the delivery partners could now wire the cash back to us with a click of a button, and we would release the float back into them so that they can get more cash orders. So today, more than $2 million dollars a day is collected from hundreds of thousands of customers on a daily basis. And proud to say that our cash losses are now down by more than 99% with absolutely zero hassle. There is zero human intervention. Through the time, we also then partnered with a few network of cash deposit machines where again a lot of automation happened. Delivery partners could get unique IDs and they could go, and just the way we withdraw cash, they could deposit cash with a card that they have been given. And again, there's an automatic settlement that happens with the bank. So not only did it help us unlock working capital, reduce our cash losses, but in reality gave a lot of time back to our delivery partners to go and service consumers and increase their earnings. So this is a win-win-win proposition where if you are able to use the technology, the right spirit, this becomes an enabler and a win-win proposition for everybody. Again, looking at our restaurant partners, one of the things that we do obviously on the customer side, a lot of us see all the AI and the action that keeps happening. How our systems or our app today recognizes you as an individual, is able to offer you choices that you care about, or basis your past history, basis similar kind of for example, if I am a vegetarian and I order from a few restaurants, they would tag my profile to another similar individual, and where are they ordering from, and therefore some of those choices could be made out. But so that's on the consumer side. If you look at the partner experience again, today we are pushing a lot of self-service out to partners, so restaurant partners can get access to their daily and weekly sales reports and analysis tools. They could go and download from a partner app their statement of account. And over time, I think what we are trying to build is an online reconciliation tool where the partner can upload, like a bank reconciliation statement. They can upload their Swiggy, reconciliation statement into the app, and the tool will, identify the transactions that are different, like a BRS statement. So a lot of this that we are currently doing is to help our ecosystem so that they get access to information at fingertips and don't have to rely on archaic, reporting and reconciliations. Similarly, on our delivery partners, it is very important for them to understand what are their earnings, and this is a daily, we do a weekly settlement to them again. They get access to reports which help them to enhance their earnings on a daily basis. There are a lot of, obviously there are fixed payouts that we make to them on a per order basis, but then there are also a lot of incentives that get attached to them if they do certain behaviors like availability during peak hours, etc. So there are nudges that the app continues to do to them, that how do they get to those incentives, how many more orders they would need. So on a real-time basis, they are being fed this information so that they can accordingly act on that information and increase their earnings. So a lot of visibility tools, a lot of gamification, which talks in simple language, a lot of visual tools that the delivery partners can understand and increase their earnings while working with our platform. So one of the important things is that as a customer, right? We obviously want to offer the right experience, with the right quality, time, and quantity to our consumers, because we are dealing in a product which is delivered in 30 minutes. But then there could be a lot of things that can go wrong, right? So whether it is the quality of the food, whether it is packaging issues, sometimes items are missing or accompaniments may be missing from the order that is being given out. There could be delays at the end of the restaurant partner or a delivery partner. There could be issues of accidents or bike problems. So a lot of things can go wrong once that order is placed within that 30 minutes. However, we obviously take a lot of pride in ensuring that our customers get the best of experience, and we also gratify them if they have had a poor experience. Now, when there are so many things can go wrong, obviously the cost of doing business can significantly increase if you don't do the right root cause analysis and fix them in a manner so that the overall cost of doing that goes down and the experience goes up. So we've been, we've had to look at various parts of our business, bring in a lot of elements to see how do you reduce fraud. And sometimes it could just be abused by a few customers, right? So there could be a few bad apples, customers who may generally want to get free refunds, which we obviously in the first instance when a customer is asking for a refund, it would be difficult for us to deny that. But then over time we'll be able to build a data science model or a machine learning model, which means that if this customer is always placing orders and then claiming refunds, then the system today can automatically deny a refund to them, and then it goes through a manual processing cycle. So across the customers, restaurant partners, delivery partners, we use the levers around which are available, whether it is intelligent automation, the risk factors that get attached to some of these behaviors, and then what is the human orchestration of this, right? So for example, if there is a customer who is now switching a device but is claiming the refund from the same geolocation, the system is able to pick that up today and then deny that particular customer, because for every such customer who is obviously trying to abuse or game the system, the platform obviously loses a lot of money. This has a direct P&L impact. At the same time, if we are very hard on such requests without applying the right technology, it may lead to poor customer experience for even genuine customers. So today we have business finance professionals who are sitting with these data scientists within our core teams and solving for these real-time problems with the use of advanced machine learning, so that we can take out the bad apples and the bad actors from the system and give the customers the experience that they deserve. So like this, there are various such examples that we use, across our company, whether it is to meet our consumer needs or whether to meet our partner needs or the finance, processing timelines, So maybe, towards the end of it, I would just like to, end with this quote that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So it's a time for us to, unlearn some of the things that are the past or the traditional ways of doing and learn the digital ways ahead. So as I mentioned, it is more of a mindset that you don't necessarily have to know, how to do it, but necessarily ask the right questions. And then obviously the tools and technologies are available today, which can support this learning of ours. So over to you, Vandana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I mean, Rahul, that was just amazing from just giving us an understanding of the breadth and depth. I mean, 500 million transactions a year and $2 million a day in cash from hundreds of thousands of customers. That's a significant challenge and opportunity that you've had. And the way it sounds like you've built a team that can not just think about technology, but understand how it interacts with different types of stakeholders. And you're always having to think about many different types of stakeholders in the whole transaction. It is quite incredible. And you also touched on the fact that we're always going to have to apply human intelligence on top of artificial intelligence, which is incredibly important, but that can only happen if people are keeping themselves abreast of the growth and the trends. And it was great that you said that, look, you don't have to be a coder yourself. You just need to know how to work with people who can do it. And I love the idea of your dedicated finance engineering pod so that they can real time, start helping you work out what's needed and how. So thank you so much for that. I have now with me Dayanavash Sharma, who is the Vice Chair of the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. So they are welcome. And we've also got Dina back. So what we're going to do is we're going to kick off with some questions to each of you and some to both of you. And we're going to go. And in the meantime, if the audience has any questions, please do put them into the question box and those questions will come over to us. So, Dina, I'm going to start with you. As a chartered accountant, one of our responsibilities is very much around the whole compliance piece, right? Compliance and regulation. And I remember one of the things that came out in the report when we talked to Mahindra & Mahindra is the vast number of laws that they have to ensure that they're complying with. How do you feel that AI can play a role in compliance tasks and the art of the possible? What's possible there?
So one of the biggest things you can possibly use AI for is processing a lot of the unstructured data that is there. There is a lot of structured and unstructured data which is all over the place in the organization. Getting that together and using AI, and then you can train the models to understand and learn from whatever you need to do from a compliance point of view. And that's a very key aspect. So, and a couple of examples that I wanted to give, one of the things that you would have seen has been the fast launch of the vaccination and the vaccines which came out from, say, AstraZeneca, which is one of our customers. And we've been able to enable their entire, the integrated patient safety compliance related aspects using AI. And effectively, the work that was getting done by doctors, pharmacists, and statisticians, pretty much a large percentage of it could get done with AI. And it was predominantly usage of computer vision and NLP techniques, which is natural language processing. And you could actually do a lot more things with the people that you already had. We had to repurpose them. And instead of doing X work as a throughput, they could actually do 3X work. So some of these type of things are very much possibilities. Another example I would give is, we are launching the TCS Sustainathon in the city of Pune. And during the interactions with the experts, one of the first things they said is, look, there is so much amount of things that you need to comply to. Are there better ways of doing compliance? And we are actually working with them on looking at ways to actually prove that you are compliant to various laws of the land as regards sustainability is concerned. And it involves taking a whole lot of data from different sources, merging it together, and then being able to show that you are able to do things. And some of these things, it's very tedious tasks, right from understanding data quality issues, right from understanding different types of data sets and things like that. It's quite cumbersome as such. So putting in an AI assistant in there completely becomes a game changer.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for that.
So Vandana, one quick thing which I have in my mind, right?
Yeah.
Which is more for the audience who are actually listening to us.
Yes.
This is something very unique and interesting. What is common between what Dina spoke and Rahul spoke?
Oh my goodness, so much though, no?
No, the only difference, what is a common thing? Common thing, I'll put it that way, is only numbers, right? Now Dina is a technology person and Rahul is a chartered accountant. Now just see the kind of synergy which is coming in when we are looking in from a point of view when we want to do certain learning or a decision making with the use of technology. So both of us have a different, both of them have a different exposure, but I think the end point is same. So when people think about one particular thing, whether I'm a chartered accountant, I should learn technology. I don't think they have to learn technology. They should know which technology to be used. That's the most important part. So which software at what price, which is available, that should be only our judgmental call, not the coding and everything. With continued effect, Lina, one more question for you. You have been in the technology side. You have talked about so many things. See, now, the point is learning on technology effectively is one point. And how do you actually, what are the avenues for learning and learning from different industries? Because see, Vandana, if you talk, these two people spoke, right, from different industries. And we have huge amount of industries with different kind of sectors in which they are operating. And so much learning. And the only common point, who is nothing but a chartered accountant or a CPA or a CWA, right? Who's actually holding the certificate and holding all the industry knowledge in them. So how do we actually imbibe this learning experience and add value to the system? I hope I'm clear in my question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think learning from various industries is a very amazing thing to do. In fact, when we do data maturity assessments, and I've been doing this for the different companies within Tata Group, they are a very wide spectrum of companies, and each one of them have their different challenges, different types of aspects. And we also have startups within the larger ecosystem of the Tata Group. So they will all have their own nuances. And I think as you would have appreciated, there will be some organizations which will have to go through the transformation. So you will have to have an experience of having gone through the transformation. Some will be in a situation where you will pretty much start a greenfield setup like what Swiggy has done. And I'm sure there are many other unicorns which are waiting out there to launch in a big way. So both the experiences are very valuable. You can actually fast track by learning from others, and more so learning from others' mistakes. And that's one thing which I would say very strongly, that forums like these could potentially be a very good way to actually encourage people to share their experiences of either of the type of solutions that we talked about.
Great, thanks, thanks, Dina. Rahul, I want to kind of move the needle over to the CFO role and ask you, how does one build a CFO mindset, right? Both individually and also for the team, because the thing is, a CFO today is very different from the bean counter, double entry bookkeeper. You referred to the fact that we've gone from being a controller to being a value-added business strategist. How do you build that mindset? Many of the people who are listening are going to be people who are involved with compliance or with audit. How do they move over and start developing that?
I think while obviously we have the core accounting and finance skills because of the curriculum that we qualify, right? I think what mostly starts getting missed is really the business understanding. Always the finance professionals are seen as people who are only bothered about numbers and not the the story behind those numbers. That why do the business, why do the marketing function do a certain role? How does the sales function really work? How does the production function work? I think our understanding of the business levers and the growth levers and the cost levers is obviously better than probably anybody else in the company. Now, if we can apply that learning with our business understanding of why are we taking those decisions with those respective business partners, our ability to ask the right question, those are important skills that will distinguish from us just being a controller and being a participant in that discussion versus being a seat on the table, taking the like a co-strategist, a co-pilot. You are leading the organization forward.
So really, to think of yourself as not being just a finance person, but being the co-pilot, and really building in critical thinking and looking at each of your stakeholders and what do they need and what do you need to do to make them win.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
One more question which is there, which I have noted down, is basically, can you give some examples where you extracted data insights? Because both of you have talked a lot, shown certain good, interesting, pictures in the entire process. So any examples for your data extraction and then change trajectories for a project or a client, how it is moved?
So let me give an example from banking itself. If you look at the recent times, what has really happened is a lot of the risk models which were there built by different organizations on looking at creating a credit risk score for individuals was based on past history. Suddenly things changed, and you had a pandemic, you had people go out of job, businesses were getting impacted and things like that. Now the ability to actually come up with the risk profiles completely different way was a big challenge. And banks started looking at different ways of generating insights. You could acquire data from a retail chain, for example, and understand buying patterns from a region, buying patterns from a type of segment of people and things like that. And then you can actually apply some of those to create insights, which can then be used for the decision making about offering a loan or scoring a particular customer's credit score and things like that. So some very simple examples like that. The other point which I would say is that while I put up those dashboards and things like that, I think it's a very important point. One of the things which I always encourage is that looking at the data in the right form and how you can visualize it is very, very powerful. We have done some very interesting things with completely different type of people, and specifically, Rahul gave examples of how they can actually play a role by understanding the business, but not being able to relate to it, but then augment that with a presentation of the data in a form that somebody can appreciate and understand. So I would say that it is good to understand your data, but it is even better to be able to represent that data in a way that your stakeholders can really appreciate, because then half the battle is won, because you then don't have to go and debate or deliberate on some of these things. And as long as that data is real time and it is available to you that insights are actionable, I think that's the other side of it.
Yeah.
Rahul, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. I think in our business, right, we get access to a lot of non-financial data. So obviously, we talked about a lot of finance teams, what they can do with numbers and ROIs, etc. But how do you look at non-financial data and make it useful for your business growth, right? So one of the things that we have been able to do is to make personas of consumers within the app, right? So for example, you are a consumer who likes to dine out in good quality restaurants, who does not like Indian food, and you always like to experiment. So if that's your persona, what are the kind of offerings that I could give you? Now, tomorrow, if I'm going to thrust only offers, with 50% discount, that's not going to excite you. So, from the funnel that you come into the app, you do all your research and then you will drop off because you're not getting what you want. So for us to be able to identify the individual and the needs, basis the pattern, basis, so a lot of machine learning that gets into it. And then we are able to customize our offering, whether it is the listing logic that works for you versus another individual, whether it's the promotions and discounts, whether you are always someone who looks from ordering from nearby restaurants or further away restaurants. So a lot of that insight we are able to now use it for our business growth and increase the overall, funnel of conversion from, the folks that will come onto the app.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you've used design thinking in various stages of the development of Swiggy, by the sounds of it, both for the personas, and you talked about design thinking, or also when you were thinking about how you're mapping the processes. Dina, is design thinking something that your teams use much, just out of interest?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Data and design are two sides of a coin. In fact, when I set up this particular unit, the first day we actually spent on how we bring in the entire design thinking process into play and how we get people to think that way. So a lot of our engagements are very much transformative in nature, and we're pretty much helping customers with a data-centric approach. And the overall design thinking way of doing things is very much an integral part to our business. And especially it's more to do with not just in part of my business, but a larger digital transformation that we are talking about, because you're going away from the regular way of thinking. You're not thinking workflows. You're talking about real-time data access. You are talking about insights being available to you and being able to take actions from that. So you have to think in a different way, and you'll have to look at making some of these changes in a way that you are very agile to adapt to certain things and stuff like that. So I think that definitely requires that type of mindset.
Yeah, and clearly from the whole conversation, I think this will be our last question before I ask Daya to do the official vote of thanks. I think it's very hard sometimes for chartered accountants and SMEs to know where to start, right? And we've had lots of chartered accountants say to us, and in fact, some of the questions that have come in are about, where do we start? What do we start learning? You just talked about design thinking being very important. You also mentioned, Rahul, that, for example, coding isn't necessary. So what do you think are the first steps that a finance team and an individual can start taking if they want to really evolve their digital journey? So this is a question to both Rahul and to Dina, and then I'll hand over to Daya.
Sure. Maybe I can start off with this question, right? I think you have to identify the problem that you're facing in your business or, your circumstances that you are in, right? Mm. So identification of the problem is probably the start of that journey, of the transformation journey, or, going towards finding the technology and solutions. So if things are, also sometimes we may say that things aren't broken, so I will not change. But then don't wait for those things to break, right? Identify whether they can even break while you are, in your journey. So I think that identification of the problem statement, and then obviously looking around for the solutions. You need to talk to your network, another peer group, whether it's another, professional in another similar company, or, another SME who has gone through a similar journey. Speak to a network, understand how they have been using technology, how they are using the new age methods to transform themselves. Great, so disrupt before you get disrupted.
Disrupt before you get disrupted. Lovely. Okay, and Dina?
So I'll probably give you an example from Tata Group itself. So when Chandra took over as the chairman, one of the first things that he said is that he wants the organizations to be data-centric. And he said process centricity is given. Everybody has to be process-centric, but data centricity is what he wants the Tata Group companies to be. And everybody was like, well, so what do we do now? How do we start off? And we got ourselves on a journey of educating people on data maturity and understanding of data itself. And that's a journey that we have taken. It's been almost 3 years that we've been running this. We've covered many of the Tata Group companies, close to about 1,000 people who are oriented on this type of a program. So this is within the Tata Group, and you can imagine the type of diversity that we have within the group. A similar challenge was with the Smart City program, and the Smart City Mission Director is well known to us. He was a former PMC commissioner, and he worked very closely with the Tata Trust's data-driven governance setup. And the 110 city data officers, now we put in a very strong program of data centricity in each of the cities as part of the Smart City program. But how do you train people to understand what the data is? And you have like pre-census data in the city. You have data related to waste management. How do you, and these are all part of different departments, how do you as a city data officer have a view towards it? So we actually created a program which was called Delta, a very interesting program. I was very much involved and instrumental in setting that up. So there are these type of steps which you can potentially take up, and I would be very happy to have a discussion with ICAI as well as ICAEW to see if there is something which we can do to help you on this journey. We have actually taken this data maturity framework as a standards to the standards body, so that it can potentially benefit the larger community as such, and especially organizations who are have a legacy and who have to go through the change. This will be very crucial.
Great. Thank you so much, Dina and Rahul, for your fantastic inputs today in this discussion. I'd like to hand over now to Dayanavas Sharma, who's going to propose the official vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Vandana. But before I go for vote of thanks, I would like to say one thing. I'm just picking up something from one from Rahul, one from Dina. Rahul, you talked about disruption, and Dina, you talked about large or SME, whatever it is, we have to go through an entire transition. The larger has larger issues, smaller has smaller issues, but in every size, it matters a lot. And the most important part, when you talked about the data maturity framework, let me just share with you, Vandana. I'm really proud to say one thing. We have a Center of Excellence in Hyderabad. Dina, thank you very much. I'll shortly reach out to you as a Vice Chairman and a Chairman of Hyderabad Center of Excellence. And I'm especially thankful to my Chairman, Digital Accounting and Insurance Board, Mr. Manu Agrawal. The moment we proposed, Vandana, it's important to note, I think you'll really appreciate this. When I put forward an agenda before our chairman saying that, in Center of Excellence, why not we actually put in some good systems which are fully loaded with the new software where people come for learning, training, and then go and execute. So the concept which we introduced is target 3T, T3. So the target one, T1 is basically technology tourism, where we are actually loading all the systems with all the new softwares where a person, Rahul, can actually come, learn how to make bots in the daytime. Afternoon, he's going to go through training, and then evening is going to go for his outing. So it's going to be a different exposure, which we are actually putting forward. We have almost reached 95% of the stage. And hopefully by end of this month, we'll be coming out, thanks to my chairman, Manu Agrawal sir, for giving that opportunity and agreeing to this suggestion. So, Dina, I think we have to get back to you on this data maturity framework. How do we actually put in so that people understand more effectively? This discussion at the end of the day, I think has been very fruitful. It doesn't say that, TCS, the largest group of this country, or Swiggy, which is a unicorn which started as a startup, whether it is anyone have adopted. They had to move with their challenges. TCS had their own legacy challenges. Swiggy had their own challenges to understand the data effectively and utilizing it more effectively, so that not only the number crunching matters, but also the taste matters. So that is how they have actually reached out and they made everything possible. First of all, let me thank my Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and also Institute of Indian in Wales for coming together to the next level. Christine, thank you very much for joining us. Vandana, thank you very much for joining us. Manu sir, thank you very much. In absentia, the Vice President, Dina, I think you have made a very good beginning for both the institutes, because both institutes are working very strongly hand in hand to ensure that the members and the industry get benefited from our experience, which is the Chartered Accountants experience at a larger level. Rahul, thank you very much to come and share your insights and make things simpler in more than one ways. And the entire DAP team, which has actually supported the entire logistics, compliments to you. Thank you very much. And not least, but the most important people who have been attending this seminar, you all are participants across the country, across the globe. Thank you very much for joining us. Wait for one more session to come where we want to transform, disrupt the past, but create a future for this profession, all times, at all highs. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Namaskar.
Thank you.